Okay, so you may be wondering why we have the old pandemic set up back when we thought the world was ending. It may just, it may still end. But
wait, hold on. Wouldn't the responsible thing be to like tie it to like the recent lockdown in Toronto and say like, we're being responsible and
it would be more. It'd be more responsible, I think, to tell the people, go out, cough on your nearest neighbor, don't wash your hands. Your immune system will take care of it. It's all a conspiracy, guys. Listen to Alex Jones for your news, please. There's a massive snowstorm going on outside right now, and we thought it would be best not to go outside, and we think it's best if you don't do the same. So go inside, cuddle up with your dog, except Mike. He's a sociopath and doesn't like dogs.
That's not true.
Yeah, it's true. My dog was trying to cuddle with him yesterday. He's like, "Get off me, you disgusting creature."
That did happen, but I was only trolling.
I know this is the wrong podcast, but Stefano, next week, can we do like a deep dive on like the National Dog Championships? They're going to be happening on Thursday.
Let's do it. I mean, that's a combat sport, right?
Okay. I just feel like we have so many good competitors this year, so I just want to make sure that the people hear about the championships. So.
They've got to understand there's a couple newcomers this year, a few hardy-looking golden retrievers, and I'm excited. They might beat the Border Collies this year, Team Border Collie. So, by the way, I'm back. Trust me, I'm back. I hope you guys missed me. I was, driving across Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they had it was a hit and miss with. Sorry, go on, Jeremy.
I said, welcome back. How was the Gay Pride Parade?
Here I am going to do like a secret, like a serious take of like, oh yeah, it was hit and miss without Stefano.
And Jeremy's over here calling me a homosexual. Listen.
Hey,
the Gay Pride Parade
episode, there's nothing wrong with that.
The Gay Pride Parade was so fun that we marched for 12 straight days, damn it. Okay? Let me tell you something. My gay brothers and sisters know how to party. We were on meth, okay?
Meth.
Okay.
See, I was going to come in here and say that, Stefano was at incel retreat. And
poor timing.
This incel retreat.
Poor timing, considering the case of that guy who the attack is still going on, like right now.
Wait, what guy? What happened?
The gentleman that ran over. It's a very tragic story. He ran over.
Very Toronto news.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, right outside of my friend's apartment. That was tragic.
Wait, hold on. The case for that is still going on?
Yeah. So.
What is the case about? Guilty. What is the case about?
Is he criminally responsible? Was he in a manic state when it happened? I think those are the terms.
If Jeremy ran our justice system, this would be execute them all.
What is the case about?
Excuse me, Your Honor, he looks guilty.
Jeremy'd be like, this guy looks kind of like an incel. I think let's just chop off his head right here.
It was like, wait, let me get this straight. You kill somebody because you weren't getting any pussy. Wait, no, guilty, send him up. Send him to jail.
Hold on. I just convicted him. Let's get a shot of me smoking a cigar with my championship.
Make sure you get my ring.
So believe it or not, we are a combat sports podcast. We are the Leg Kick podcast. If you haven't tuned in till now, usually we're in the studio today. The weather was trash, as I once said. But rain, shine, meteors, zombies, whatever. We're bringing you the latest combat sports. So, to my left, we have Jeremy, the cigar smoker, Asiffo, celebrating championship rings from a decade ago. He likes to live in the past. And what can I tell you? What can I tell you, folks? What can I say about Jeremy? He'd outbox 90% of my gym, apparently. And then bottom right, we've got Michael Asiffo, a man who doesn't need to live in the past because he has no future. Michael Asiffo.
Oh my God.
And then above him to the right, well, this man doesn't have to worry about the past or the present. For the past or the future, he's got to worry about the present because he has a broken arm.
Yes.
His girlfriend has significantly better jiu-jitsu than him. Armbarred him. He's like, you know what? You're going to do the dishes tonight. And she's like, yeah? Really? Is that what you think? Tap, snap, or nap, baby. And he chose to snap.
I wish that was the story. Just You know what? We'll do a Stefano intro, and then I'll give a quick breakdown of what happened.
Oh yeah, and I'm Stefano, God King of this world, heir to Julius Caesar's empire.
Stefano's going through a rebrand.
I can move mountains with a single hand.
I don't know. Michael, Jeremy, if you notice, Stefano's going through a rebrand. He has the Buddha statue behind him. I think he's trying to make it clear he's
did
not
you just call that Buddha? Did you just say that's Buddha?
Sorry, terracotta. My bad. My
Buddha?
bad.
Really?
Terracotta.
Racial insensitivity, David. Wow. From you, I would expect that at least. So anyways, moving on. I'm a little rusty on my intros, guys. Sorry about that. But here we have some interesting matchups to get into today. We've got some fights that happened on the weekend. Double flyweight.
Let me also say that you've been rusty on your threading for about 3 weeks too. Your
more than
threading
3 weeks. It's been more than 3 weeks. Let's be honest. The threats, they've been declining steadily. Yeah, we had a double UFC flyweight main event to get into that happened. Lots of interesting fight announcements. David's got to tell us about his broken arm and story time. Let's see. Jeremy's updating us on the status of his championship rings. Yeah, you guys want to dive into it? You got anything to say?
And I know you tried to skip over it, but we'll also chat about a little bit of free agency too.
Yes, basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport. I love the way you dribble up and down the court.
Is that a little bow wow? Is that a little bow wow? That's a little bow wow, right?
Yes.
Yeah, go. Good job.
That's a big bow to you. Big bow. We call him Big Bow.
Yeah, I remember when he tried to rebrand himself and he came on Oprah and she's like, little bow wow. And he's like, actually, it's Big Bow now.
It's like, I made Big Bow up. He doesn't call himself Big Bow.
They're like hilarious. That's really funny, little bow wow. Anyways, moving on to our next pseudo-celebrity guest.
Shouts out to Lil Bow Wow, I guess? No, I'm joking. No shouts out to him. Okay, so, is there fight announcements you want to talk about? I see
are there fight announcements? David, are there fight announcements? Let me pull this feces up, young man. Okay? I'm about to wow your mind and titillate.
Yeah, because before that, we can just really briefly talk about this. Because I see here Tyson versus Jones written down. And I thought we agreed we would never talk about this again.
No, it's a thing that is happening next week. I'm just letting the people know it's happening next week. There it is.
Okay? I really want to talk about it.
No, I don't care. Honestly, the more and more I think about it, the more and more you guys were right. I don't know why we had such an argument about it.
Wait. Hold on, Mike. What was your embarrassing argument about it again? Refresh me.
No, my argument was if any scenario, I would say I'd be okay with him coming back. Him versus another boxer in an exhibition match where they're not really trying to kill each other. It's for charity. They're sparring a little bit. I'd be okay with it. But then the more and more the promo's been going on, the more and more they seem like they're treating it like a real boxing match. And yeah, no, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, let me put the nail in the coffin on this one. So it's either going to be one of two scenarios. Number one, it's going to be a fake boxing match, exhibition match where they move around the ring, which I don't want to see. That I do not want to see a boring exhibition match. Or number two, these two elderly gentlemen, one of which unquestionably has, signs of advanced brain trauma, or at least some kind of brain trauma.
Wait, which one?
Roy.
Oh, snap. Okay, go on.
Or these two gentlemen who have, or even if let's say not, these two gentlemen who have just in their 50s who have sustained a career of brain trauma, try to bludgeon each other to death. And I don't want to see that either. So it's a lose-lose scenario, really, in my view.
But my point is that I'd rather see the first scenario because at least they're getting themselves in shape and it's for fun, you know what I'm saying? And it's a nostalgia piece rather than it is being them bludgeoning each other and killing each other. Yeah. Is it going to be fun? No, but I'd rather that, and I'm okay with that. Right?
Yeah, just to speak to the nostalgia part of it, a lot of the older heads at my gym, not a boxing gym, but just a regular gym. These guys who also competed in some combat sports back in their day. These are older guys. They're actually kind of excited about it because, it's not really our era a lot of us were either little kids or not even born when Mike Tyson was at the top of the world in boxing and was the baddest man on the planet. Like those guys who actually lived through that and everything like that, they actually find it very intriguing. So I think a lot of people who were, just regular sports fans and fans of Mike Tyson are willing to look past the ridiculousness of it all and actually just enjoy two great fighters. Probably mostly Mike Tyson fans, but if you know anything about boxing, you know how great Roy was back in the day. Two great fighters, who aren't gonna be great now, but it's the nostalgia. Like just to speak to Michael's point, yeah, it's the nostalgia of it for people.
Yeah, I actually have a couple of things. Number one, I 100% I've kind of done a 180 on my take from last time in that I think if these guys are both able-bodied and they both understand the risks, why are we being ageist and saying that they can't go and do whatever their heart desires and make some money? Don't get me wrong, I know there's a risk and there's previous history with this very sport and blah 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 health, but it's like that with everything. Like there's many things in life you could do that for. However, I still don't think they should be fighting because it just makes me, I don't know, personally
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not good. And let's strip away, whether it's 50-year-olds or whatever, just the way it's being promoted. Not a fan. I just wanted to say also quickly on that, Valentina Shevchenko yesterday, and we'll talk about it later. She said that her mom won a shadow boxing championship. Maybe that's what they should do. Like a shadow boxing match?
No contact, no contact, no one can get hurt. Why don't they have a weed smoking championship? I know that Mike Tyson now owns a weed farm and is a big proponent of cannabis. Do something that's going to heal your brain. Look, Jeremy, to those boomers that are at your gym that are so excited about this match, I'd ask them where they've been for the past 30 years because we're living in the best time for combat sports, period. And Muay Thai, kickboxing, MMA, boxing even.
Forget that.
So if you can't appreciate new modern day talent, and this, it's not so much David, I agree with you. I think that, let people do what they want to do to an extent, but I think we're uncomfortable with it for the same reasons that we're uncomfortable with Anderson Silva continuing his career. These aren't young fighters doing this. There's an increased risk of someone in their 50s sustaining a more serious brain trauma, and I'm just more disappointed with the public for wanting this. I'm more disappointed that people's nostalgia is overriding their common sense.
Michael, you're on mute.
Are we going into boxing fight announcements, or did you want to do the UFC fight announcements first?
Oh, let's do the UFC first because I'm chomping at the bit here.
I just wanted to quickly say, just how many boxing greats die destitute and broke, and people don't care about them.
Right.
The truth is, let's not pretend like we care about the athletes in their personal lives and blah blah blah. We only care that they can do entertainment, and that's the reason we care about this fight, because we have two former great people who have once again drawn, I don't know from what kind of well, but they're drawn from the well to try and entertain us again. Let's not pretend we're fighting for seniors' rights and blah, blah, blah. The truth is, we don't care what happens to them after the fight. All that we care is that we're entertained. So, save me the whole, it's the right of the fighter to fight, blah, 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 and these are two greats, and we just want to honor the greats. Cut it out. You guys don't care. How many greats have died without anything in their pockets? You guys don't. We don't care about the greats.
Well, on that very true and very unfortunate note, but I think that's something. Huh?
Michael's on mute.
Michael, you're muted. You know what? That's probably the way it should be, though. Let's be honest. Anyways, on that note, and a very sobering note that I think a lot of people need to hear as fans of combat sports, I like that David raised that point because it's something we don't really consider. Let's talk about the future instead of the past. This is a common theme, okay? See what I did there? So, number one, because I'm a Japanophile, call me a weeb. We'll call it a weeb for Japanese MMA. David, you're muted now, too.
Yeah, but I'm intentionally on mute. Michael is just, he's lost his audio. Log on and off.
Well,
Michael.
yeah.
So
So basically, we'll go to Japan for a mashup that's near and dear to my heart. So, a rematch between one of my favorite fighters, Kyoji Horiguchi, against Kai Asakura. Now, this one is spicy. This is for the vacant Risen 135 title. Kyoji Horiguchi, formerly the. Hold on, my dog's whining. What do you want? Leave me alone. You bum. Okay, so formerly, Michael, we can't hear you. Okay, whatever. Let me just make the announcement. So, formerly, for those of you guys unaware of the storyline, I'm a bit of a Risen fan myself. Kyoji Horiguchi, former 135-pound champ, he lost his belt to Kai Asakura. Both of these guys are very exciting karate boxer type stylists. Very good with bouncy in and out movements. Very good at luring you, drawing you onto counters. Kai knocked out Kyoji in his last fight, and then Kai lost the belt to Manel Cape, who's off to the UFC, another very exciting prospect from Angola, actually, of all places. So they're going to be fighting for the 135 Risen belt, and this is going to have implications for Bellator as well, because Kyoji currently holds the Bellator 135 title after he beat Darian Caldwell, I believe. So, anything to say about that, boys, or nothing?
No, that is a deep cut. Isn't Horiguchi the same guy who fought, what's his name? Or am I mentioning that?
Demetrius. He fought. No, you're thinking of Tenshin Nasukawa.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
Horiguchi actually did fight. No, there's a connection there, though. Horiguchi fought Tenshin Nasukawa in a kickboxing fight, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard of Horiguchi, but everybody else I've never heard of.
You've heard of Horiguchi because I'm frequently jerking him off on this podcast.
Okay, whoa. You've been doing that this entire time? Wow, okay.
Yeah. So next, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but did we talk about Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic?
Yo, man, Thiago Santos needs to rest his knees. Man, that's not a bad matchup. It's an interesting matchup. Rakic is a beast, but man, rest.
It's a fun fight. I just don't know how I feel about this kind of turnaround after the Glover Teixeira fight.
Yeah.
Rakic probably isn't going to exploit the same kind of holes that Glover did. I don't think he's going to go to the takedown as readily. But I think it'll be fireworks. Because Rakic is always entertaining in my opinion. Very, very good kicker. You know, this is kind of the swarmer versus the kicker. Can Rakic keep him on the end of his range? Can Thiago Santos blitz him in the first 30 seconds into oblivion? We'll have to see.
Yeah, Rakic. Yeah, that's basically how I see it playing out. Rakic is definitely more of a range fighter. Not really. He's definitely power, but he's a taller fighter, and Thiago Santos is definitely more of a blitzer. So we'll see. Thiago Santos is just as good in stand-up as Rakic, I would say. Probably, maybe some people might even give him the edge slightly.
Yeah. Who's to say, because they have such different styles, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's tough. We'll just have to see. We'll have to watch and see. Honestly,
What weight division do these guys fight in?
light heavyweight.
So that's light heavyweight for the division that seems to be wide open, unless Israel Adesanya, who's fighting the current champion. Hold on, my dog's whining. He always puts stuff under the couch and then cries for me to come get it. So
My dog's whining as well. But no, that's the light heavyweight.
What do you want?
Oh,
Tire under here? I'll play with you later.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a little bit about Thiago Sanchez and Stefano's back, and I don't have to pull shit out of my ass.
You don't have to bullshit anything. Hilarious.
I'm back.
No,
Daddy's back. Daddy's
Thiago
back.
Santos had the epic match against John Jones, where a lot of people felt like he won that fight. I personally felt like he won that fight. But now he's coming off a loss against Glover Teixeira, which I thought he was a favorite for that fight, just for being the younger, fresher fighter. And honestly, he kind of got his butt whooped by Glover, surprisingly.
Yeah. Glover, he meant. Hold on. What do you want?
Man, anybody who has a dog knows this feeling, where your dog is just whining in the background, and you're just like, what do you want? You've eaten, I've taken you out. What do you want? I feel
Yeah, no, I am no proponent of animal abuse, but sometimes it's necessary.
Man, no, it's not necessary.
Welcome to the leg kick. Welcome to the leg kick, where I get bullied by my 8-month-old dog into.
But you were saying, who did he get beat up by?
Glover. Basically, Glover has the great equalizer of having an excellent ground game, and surprisingly decent wrestling, a very decent double leg.
Yeah, it's not
But-
even like because Thiago Santos is also, if I'm not mistaken, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's just like Glover just mixed it up too well and just pummeled him for.
Let me let you in on a little secret, David. There's some black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA who are like black belts, shall we say? And then there are ones that are like black belt.
I get it, but who am I to claim that? You know, like.
Oh, I know.
Thiago
That's why
Santos is gonna rip my arm off. So yeah, whatever.
Thiago, if you're out there, don't kill me. Your skills lie in different areas. So the next, we actually got a lot of announcements to go through. I don't know if you guys dealt with this one without me, but we have Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. Woo!
That's an absolute banger.
Banger.
Banger. Boxing. Let's go.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, guys. Michael, I just texted you. I said, would you like someone else to record us while you figure stuff out?
He's still recording the call, I think. He's just not present. Like he's still.
If he has to restart his computer, he would need somebody else to record.
All right, Jeremy, you better do this. My laptop here is after the announcements. Let me reset. Okay, no worries. So yeah, for me, based on the fact that I think Max Holloway has shown himself to have far fewer stylistic weaknesses and is able to craft and stick to a very, elaborate game plan that Volkanovski fight was chess, just back and forth. And Kattar has shown a big weakness for leg kicks. Like he's got a phenomenal jab that he'll just skewer some people with. Mm-hmm. I believe he boxed up Jeremy Stevens with it. Was doing good work in the third round against Zabit, but as we saw in, let's say the Moicano fight, if you can kick his leg, he's in for a nightmare. He will not be able to get his jab going. So it's an interesting fight, but I tend to favor Holloway in this one.
I favor Holloway just because I think he's a more experienced, well-rounded fighter. So I guess we're kind of saying the same thing. What I will say, though, is that I don't think Max Holloway strikes me as a leg kick fighter. So I'm not sure whether he's going to be exploiting that, but I think his striking is a little bit more dynamic. So.
He's applied leg kicks to good effect in this fight. Like in the last Volkanovski fight, he kicked the open side body quite well. Because I think Volkanovski was southpaw. Like he'll apply kicks as he needs, if that makes sense. He's not like, yeah.
When I think Holloway, I definitely think just switch hitter boxer.
Yeah, more or less.
And Calvin Kattar, power puncher, good jab as you said, but definitely more just like power puncher. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Holloway's huge for the division. I'm just looking at how tall Calvin Kattar is, 5'11", so. Not that much shorter than Holloway, so it's going to be interesting.
How is Calvin Kattar's stamina, his cardio?
It's good, man. It's good. He in the first of all,
I know Max Holloway's cardio is pretty good too. So
yeah, they're both very good. Like in the Zabit fight, it looked like Calvin Kattar had that been a 5-round fight, probably would have been on his way to beating Zabit, in my opinion. Good cardio, very precise boxing. It's going to be a battle of. In my opinion, I think Holloway's going to be able to exploit those weaknesses, but I'd love to see this play out on the feet. I'd love to see them bang.
Holloway's always going to come bang. Always. Like he's not going to do the jiu-jitsu game unless you make him do that. The only times I've seen Holloway go to jiu-jitsu is when he knocks your ass down. Exactly. So, and I don't know. So if anybody's gonna have to take, if it's gonna be a wrestling game or a grappling game, it's gonna be Calvin Kattar doing the initiating. And I'd like to. I have to go back and watch. I don't think I've seen him as much of a wrestler.
No, I haven't seen him go to takedowns very often. But yeah, excellent fight.
Someone's gonna bleed.
We're gonna be some blood. People might die. So this next one, we got a lot of fight announcements to go through. Mike says, I got something to say on this, so let me reset now.
Of course, Mike.
Mike, you loudmouth, you'll get your turn. Right. But we got to keep the show going.
Stop recording for me to start, Mike.
Wait, let's keep this going. Let's reset after the fight announcements. We got to get through this. We can't spend like an hour and a half on the fight.
Sorry for the unprofessionalism, audience. Sorry,
guys. Sorry about that, Mike. We gotta move on.
This out.
And then, the campiness is a part of the the charm of our show, don't you know? And then the next one, and this one I'm quite interested in because these two never met in the UFC. So people might be scratching their heads as to why this is listed as a rematch, but it is because these two fought years ago outside the UFC before most people knew or cared to know who they were, and were just a couple of middleweight prospects paving their way on the New York scene. So we have Chris Weidman versus Uriah Hall, number 2. Now, for those of you that don't know, I saw this fight quite a while ago. At the time, Uriah Hall was, just this flashy up-and-comer who would throw crazy spinning stuff. And Chris Weidman, just, a stud wrestler, really hadn't put together as much of a sophisticated striking game as he had, in more recent years. But, Weidman actually TKO'd him, I believe, years ago. And that's all I remember from the fight, to be honest with you. It was on a really grainy video. But this is a rematch, and both guys kind of in an odd point in their career. Both of them, in my opinion, didn't really live up to the potential they showed, but early on.
That's kind of harsh considering Weidman's a former champion.
I know, but coming off of that win of Anderson Silva, like a lot of us, me included, thought he was going to be the next guy to take that mantle at 185 and be this invincible force that just reigned for.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at his record here. Well, duh. And after the Anderson Silva, he has a win over Lyoto, which many would probably say was probably past his peak at that point.
Lyoto's peak?
Yeah.
I'd argue differently. I think Lyoto was still competitive. I think he was still very competitive.
But at his peak in 2014, some people would say like Lyoto was at his peak, maybe even prior to the UFC.
That's fair. I could see that argument. But still a very dangerous Lyoto. And then the fight over Vitor you're going to say next.
Vitor. That's a really respectable win too. Although once again, peak.
Post TRT Vitor, but
yeah,
still.
Exactly. So then he lost to Luke Rockhold, which is the top of the food chain guy. Lost to Yoel Romero, top of the food chain. Gegard Mousasi, top of the food chain. Even all his losses, Dominic Reyes, Ronaldo Souza, like those are all top of the food chain guys, really.
Yeah, it's I understandable. Like the middleweight division had a big resurgence after Anderson Silva kind of laid down the crown, so to speak. But I don't know. I guess I'm coming at the perspective that I had really high hopes for Chris Weidman to be, a GOAT. And as it stands, I probably think he's maybe the third best middleweight champion in UFC history. No shame in that. But yeah, and Uriah Hall as well. I think Uriah Hall genuinely is someone who I think a lot of people feel he didn't live up to his potential. Yeah. And I think it's because he had a couple of stylistic flaws that, while he's incredibly talented, he just has a few very obvious flaws in his game. Circles the cage with his hand down, has a decent jab, but really doesn't build off of it. Is susceptible to being pressured.
I'm inclined to take Uriah Hall in this matchup, though.
Why?
He seems like the more athletic, more dangerous, more powerful fighter.
I don't know if I'd say he's more athletic in a different way, maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to take Weidman personally because I think I would never rule out Uriah Hall on this, especially with Chris Weidman's chin has seemed to be a little bit deteriorated in recent years. And even in his last fight against Omari Akhmedov, he won, but, this isn't the Weidman of old. It wasn't. It was not. I was not super impressed. I tend. Sorry. What's that, Jeremy?
I just said that's one of the factors I'm taking into account.
Yeah. I tend to think, although Omari Akhmedov, I tend to think is still a fairly dangerous contender. I think Weidman is probably going to end up grinding Uriah Hall out, maybe even submitting him or TKOing him on the ground.
The same way, Stefano. I would probably go Weidman just, ironically, for the exact opposite reason you just said, because I think I probably saw a little bit more in that Akhmedov victory than I saw in, ironically, Uriah's Hall knockout of Anderson Silva. I mean, I think we all forget, like, he lost, like, the first 2 or 3 rounds of that fight.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, he wasn't winning that fight against, no disrespect, against a pretty...
A washed Anderson Silva.
Yeah, I'm trying to be respectful, but, yeah, so, like, and that's his game, like, an Anderson Silva who wasn't even trying to, like, wrestle him or pressure him or do anything, like, that isn't Uriah Hall's strength. Like, it was basically like a tag, like a stand-up battle, and he wasn't able to do that. And, Whiteman's not going to play that game. Whiteman's going to go in, I would imagine, and just wrestle him to the ground. And it's going to be a grappling game, and I don't know how good Hall's grappling is.
So next we have a matchup that I'm salivating about. One of my favorite fighters of all time, Tony Ferguson, taking on one of my other favorite fighters of all time, and Charles Oliveira. Two guys with some of the most dangerous submissions in the division in very different ways. Ferguson, much more of a rubber guard stylist, plays that Eddie Bravo jiu-jitsu, excellent high guard, good at damaging strikes from the bottom. And Oliveira got a very dangerous traditional closed guard, excellent from the front headlock, phenomenal with chokes, has at least one calf slicer submission in the UFC. So this is going to be fun anywhere it takes place. Also showed some new wrinkles in that Kevin Lee fight as well. I think he's on a 4 or 5 fight win streak. Ferguson coming off that devastating loss to Justin Gaethje. A lot of people don't see the upside for Tony Ferguson in this, Mike included, but I see the upside for the fans. I'm excited for this. I think whoever wins this gets a title shot.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Definitely not. I think the lightweight division is up for grabs now, and I think it's going to be a long time till we get a good sense of who's going to be like the next number one, personally, because I just think.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
There's too many guys. Paul Felder just fought, lost to RDA. Like, there's just too many guys. You could do especially with the lack of like quality cards we have, you could stretch it out over like 3 or 4 cards as opposed to like just like shoot your load right off the bat. Sorry, we are talking about. My brain is running right now.
You're talking about the lightweight division, this matchup in particular.
Oh, yeah, the Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira matchup. Yeah, so yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I don't know. I think. I don't really have too many thoughts on it, other than Ferguson. It's really early for him to be fighting. I mean, just after the Justin Gaethje, that was like how long was it? Like 4 months, 5 months?
I hadn't considered that, and you're right. I mean, I tend to favor more time off after a fight like that than less. I mean, look at Brian Ortega taking 2 years off after that beating from Max Holloway and really reinventing himself. And for me, the question around Ferguson has always been, when is he going to have to finally pay the toll? When is all this damage going to add up to the point where his legendary chin doesn't really carry him past some of these performances? Because it consistently in every fight, Tony Ferguson at some point gets stunned. It happens. He's hittable. He's always there to be hit because he's always there in your face and just melting you the entire time. So it's interesting. Maybe it's a little bit too soon against Charles Oliveira. I think that if in a perfect world, if Ferguson has his durability is still intact and he's able to fight the same way he did most of his career, I probably favor Ferguson. Oliveira has shown some tools to mitigate pressure in his last couple fights. I remember in that Kevin Lee fight, he was throwing out a powerful front kick that seemed to just stop Kevin Lee in his tracks and really punish him for standing out at the range and throwing the jab. But I tend to think Ferguson is in a perfect world where we see the best version of Ferguson can probably melt Oliveira over, if not in the first 2 rounds, maybe in the 3rd or 4th, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know who's going to win. I just looked it up, and Ferguson's last fight against Gaethje was actually 6 months ago in May, so maybe it's not that long, but that was a hellacious beating. So if he's back to 100%, then I fancy his chances, but if he's anything under like 80, then
David's Britishness coming out there.
I fancy his chances.
Just a month earlier. Not funny what happened. It's not funny what happened to Tony Ferguson, but that shit made me laugh. Oh, I'm sorry, Michael. That made me laugh.
Mike's over here having an aneurysm.
That shit.
Yeah. Michael wants to talk so bad, and he's probably losing his mind in the background. It's like,
He's like, no, I disagree with all these takes. They're wrong. It's funny. Speaking of Britishness, before the podcast, before we started recording, David asked me for a cigarette. I don't smoke. But David, he's like, hello, mate. You fancy yourself a bit of a hard man? Can I bomb a fag, love? I'm like, bum a fag. What are you talking about? What are these homophobic slurs? Fancy myself a hard man. What are you talking about? But I realized he was just asking for a cigarette.
That's such an
So
American joke, man. That's such a North American joke. Tell another one. Jeez.
you figure you're better than me, huh? Well, you're better than me, Porter. You think you're better than me? So finally, final matchup. Stick with us, guys. We're almost there. The final matchup that was announced is Aldo versus Jose Aldo versus Marlon Chito Vera. Wow. Jose Aldo, another fighter who, man, I don't know if it's because even 6 months for Ferguson for me seems a little soon, but Aldo, coming off of that Peter Yan fight, these fights all feel like they happened yesterday, and I think it's partly because the pandemic's breaking our brains, and every day feels like yesterday in the pandemic. But, geez, what is the rush? Slow it down, man. What was Marlon Vera's last fight? He fought Song Yadong. I thought he won that. Oh, and then it was the Sean O'Malley fight.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? There's some of these fights in the pandemic, man, where it's like in a vacuum, I'd love this fight, under ideal circumstances. But these are just not ideal circumstances. We're just scrambling to kind of see, what can we get? Who can we get a quick turnaround out of to fight again? Who hasn't had a training camp and we can pull them out on 5 days' notice? Like, is this really an accurate reflection of how these fights are going to take place? Because I'm excited for Chito Vera as a prospect. I am. I think he answered a lot of naysayers in that Sean O'Malley performance, and I've always been a big fan of Aldo, showing that even in his advanced career, he can still have a competitive fight against the best 135er in the world. But I don't know how I feel about the timing of this matchup as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Once again, I looked it up. Aldo's last fight was in July, which is technically like 4 months, 5 months.
Man,
that's okay. We've seen guys do shorter. If it was like 1 or 2 months or 3 months even, then I'd hear you. But like anything past that, and if you weren't like significantly, I mean, he took a beating. Don't get me wrong. He definitely took a beating. But like, did he break anything? Like, was anything?
David, do you remember how much brain trauma he took in that fight? Do you remember?
It was a lot.
We were criticizing. I forget who the referee was in that fight because Peter Yan was on top of Aldo, punching his lifeless body in the back of the head for about a minute straight. Well, it might have been Jason Herzog, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jason. I'm pretty sure it was Jason Herzog.
We're just standing there with his hands on his hips,
Yeah,
like
I
he's
remember
waiting
it.
in line at Costco. It was insane. It was one of the worst stoppages I've seen in my life. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I remember it. But I mean, at the same time, like, the Tony Ferguson stoppage was bad too. Anthony Smith has a fight like next week or something like that. Like, I mean, how many bad stoppages have we seen in this pandemic? And guys are coming back like in half the time that Jose Aldo spent out. So, I don't want to make it, two wrongs make a right. Should he be taking more time off? Probably. But, he spent his entire life fighting, and I would say this is a fairly even matchup. I thought like the Peter Yan matchup was a little bit more, I wouldn't say lopsided, but it was kind of like, why, especially coming off a loss. Some people would even ask, why does he get the Chito Vera matchup when Chito Vera is coming off a win against like the hot guy in the division? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but
The hot guy.
the hot guy, yeah, this is Sean O'Malley,
for Sean O'Malley, eh?
Hot boy
David?
summer. Hot boy winter.
Yeah, the hot. It was supposed to be Sean O'Malley's summer. It was supposed to be a Hot Boy summer, Sugar Sean summer. But yeah, no. Instead, Chito Vera took that, and I don't know. I guess like in terms of name value, now that I'm thinking about it, it does make sense for Chito Vera to get another notch in his belt, which would be Jose Aldo. But for Jose Aldo, other than staying active and proving you can still hang with the best in the division, yeah, I really don't see why this matchup so soon, personally.
I agree, and I really don't, as someone who used to be a very big fan of Jose Aldo, especially when he was on his run through the WEC and then into the UFC, where he dominated the likes of Mark Homnick and the Korean Zombie. He had that flying double knee over Cub Swanson. If you guys haven't seen it, please check it out. It's the only flying double knee I've seen in my life. I hope he doesn't become just a notch under people's belts, that the UFC starts booking against young prospects just to get a little bit of shine on them, because
That's a shame.
It's a
Go
shame
out like
that,
Anderson Silva, man. Don't go out like what's his name?
wait, did you just say go out like Anderson Silva, who's lost his last 7 fights?
I would, but you know what? I actually, and this is not the Anderson Silva podcast. We could talk about that another time. But I actually think like he actually had a really good exit strategy. It would have been great to exit like Michael Bisping, GSP or Khabib, where you're winning, where you're leaving on top. I know Bisping had those 2 losses, so technically not on top, but he was still pretty much loved and adored. But I just think like, Anderson Silva did it. He was still respected and loved and competitive towards.
And brain damaged.
But yeah.
The poor guy.
But look, okay. Now it's gonna seem like I'm laughing at that, but I wouldn't say it was brain. You think it was brain damage?
Let's look through his record, because I could be erring, but there was the Chris Weidman knockout. Then he had his leg shattered by Chris Weidman. Then was the Nick Diaz fight next? No, what came next after that? Nick Diaz fight. Think of that what you will. Controversial decision. Okay. After Nick Diaz, he fought. You know what? We have the internet. Why am I using my memory?
Yeah, I was like, wait.
Memory is for boomers.
No Google, not Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper.
Anderson Cooper's MMA record.
I bet it's fired though.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that homophobic comment.
Oh wait, no, this is not a good record. Never mind. You see,
yeah,
it's funny how like respect plays tricks on your mind.
It does.
He lost to Bisping, lost to Cormier, win against Brunson.
He took some punishment. That he went against Brunson, arguable. He had his knee destroyed by Jared Cannonier. The Daniel Cormier win was. Sorry, say that again.
The Bisping one was close-ish. Though.
It was close, but it's still one of those fights where you're taking quite a bit of damage. But you know what? You know who I actually think, before we do move on, had a good, and a lot of people might get on my my ass for this, but you know who I think had a good exit strategy?
Who?
Ronda Rousey.
No.
Let me tell you why. Right? She ran the division for years. Came up against very stiff competition in Holly Holm, was outclassed by both Holly Holm and by Amanda Nunes. Realized that she wasn't long for the sport and couldn't compete with the top of the division, and was already in the late stage of her athletic prime. She'd already competed in the Olympics. Her knees were destroyed to the point where she couldn't even go for runs. She had no illusions about being able to capture that title again. She left, and she's now making a profitable career in WWE.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? I think that's an excellent exit strategy.
Let me see. How about the part where she said that she had to quit? Michael says he's got to come home for this one.
Wait, she did. Wait, she had to quit. She did have to quit.
The part where she said that she didn't love MMA anymore, and she wanted to focus on making babies, and then she came back for the Amanda Nunes fight when she thought like this was more of a gimme fight, when in reality Amanda Nunes was a much tougher fight than the Holly Holm fight. Like, come on, let's not make it seem like. And then she realized she was. And then after those 2 losses, she realized she was overmatched. And then she went on. Didn't she go like on Oprah or like what's that other, like Kelly Ripa or whatever, and then started crying or something? Like,
yeah, what's wrong? What's wrong with that?
Man, I'm not rolling.
Hold on. You're saying that You're saying that's not a good. Quiet, Boomy. You're saying that's. Boomy's even disagreeing with me here. You think that's a bad? Okay, we have examples in the sport of people like BJ Penn, who again was considered a lighter weight great and stuck around for the last 7 fights, getting knocked out by up and coming challengers and by fat bouncers at the Lava Shack. And you want to tell me that Ronda Rousey was a bad exit from the sport? She lost 2 fights, realized she was overmatched, and then now has a profitable career in making movies and fake wrestling. What's wrong with that? Why is that such a controversial take? I don't get it.
What about Daniel Cormier? Go out like Daniel Cormier. Go out like.
That's another good example.
Yeah, no, I mean Daniel Cormier.
But Ronda Rousey's still on the good side. I'll admit that Daniel Cormier's exit was decent, but why is Ronda Rousey's exit from the sport not good? I failed to see any because she cried on Oprah. That's what you're like.
I feel like there was a certain
arrogance. That's what you're trying to say, David. She's soft.
Yes, I'm watching a lot of Bernie Mac recently.
Look, when you go from the highest of heights to the lowest of lows, and you feel like your talent has been taken away from you, like those players in Space Jam, you'd probably cry too.
Deep cut, but yes.
I,
But for
I,
real though,
I'm Jeremy. Despite your reference of Space Jam, I actually really agree with you.
yeah, no, I agree. We're all seeing the same thing. I just don't think like that was a particularly courageous or good way to exit the sport, especially when some would say like she still had the talent to compete at the very top of the division. And had she, if she had a better game plan, she might have even had against Holly Holm, for example.
I disagree, man. I think first of all, courage in this sport will get you killed. I think she fundamentally lacked the skills to beat both Amanda Nunes and Holly Holm. Could she have been a middling fighter in the division after that? Absolutely. Could she still come back and beat most fighters in that division? Sure. But nobody named Holly Holm, nobody named Amanda Nunes, and certainly nobody named Valentina Shevchenko.
No.
So if you're not going to, why do fighters do this, especially at a high level, if not to be champions? You know, do you think Ronda Rousey would have been comfortable sticking around and just earning a mediocre paycheck in the middle of the division?
She wouldn't be earning a mediocre paycheck. She'd be doing the Conor McGregor, getting high-paying fights, being the main event, and not even fighting for the title anymore. But it doesn't matter because she's still getting paid.
I think her exit from the sport was pretty smart. And
I don't know. Even like Conor McGregor. What about Conor McGregor? He might never fight for a title ever again. Like if he leaves
after Khabib's gone, I disagree.
I mean, he might. No, I'm not saying like it's definite that he won't. Like, but if he loses the next fight, but if he loses the next fight against Poirier, he might never fight for one ever again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like after that makes it like what 2-3 fights after his Khabib fight, like.
Yeah, but Conor McGregor's the exception, not the rule. He's a weird case of somebody that managed to. Yeah, but Conor to a different degree. Ronda Rousey's not off getting boxing matches with Floyd Mayweather, making $100 million.
And Ronda Rousey could have boxed that. What's that black girl's name? The black one. What was it?
Yeah, and like
Clarissa Shields.
Yeah, exactly.
And like three people would have.
If she boxed Clarissa Shields, then her confidence would really be gone because Clarissa Shields would
piece her up. Listen, and for what? She can box Clarissa Shields in a community center in front of 15 people for 500 and 500. Like,
don't do that.
Are you really comparing the star power of Clarissa Shields to Floyd Mayweather? I'll let that one
star power of Ronda Rousey to Conor McGregor, and they are comparable. Like,
I actually do talk about this quite a bit. Like, if Clarissa Shields was, and I'm glad you guys, this was sparked because of Ronda Rousey. If Clarissa Shields, I hate to be, that angry black guy, but if Clarissa Shields was white, everybody would know her name.
No, wait, there's a white woman.
I think if she was white and a man,
if she was a man, no, let's do this.
Hold on, and she was a man, because people unfortunately do not care about women's boxing. Women's MMA.
No, because Ronda Rousey, when she was having her come up, she was doing the same. I think Clarissa Shields has accomplished more than Ronda Rousey.
But that's because
doing her come up, and everybody knew her. But because Ronda Rousey was quote unquote more attractive, they made her more sellable. But
no, I don't think that's it.
I think it has a lot. I think it has a lot.
But like Jeremy, Jeremy's onto something because I agree with him that in some ways
Shields has won 2 gold medals.
No, Clarissa Shields is a badass. Absolutely. No, I'm Jeremy. I'm with you on a number of ways, and I do think the public is. Mike's like, I got to reset because I agree with it. Mike, get out of here. No one cares.
Jump on the call, man.
We're not gonna. Once we finish this talking point, we'll kind of.
Just take notes. Listen,
I agree with Jeremy in one sense. I do think that the American public has certain racist sensibilities, and I do think certain people's careers can be viewed differently because of their race. For example, Tyron Woodley, I think, is a key example. I think he's viewed differently, and his objections are viewed differently because he's black. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, but I think there's a big difference between women's boxing and women's MMA. I really do.
That's what I was
now, Jeremy, name me one other high-profile women's boxer other than Clarissa Shields. I bet you can. Holly Holm, maybe?
No. Katie Taylor, current champion.
Hold on, ask
the
Jeremy.
Irish. Pardon?
I asked Jeremy. Get out of here.
No. But
Presently,
Katie Taylor is just as big and just as like in terms of like popularity, just as big and just as good in terms of female boxing as Clarissa Shields. And nobody knows her. Like unless you're really into female boxing, like nobody knows her. So I don't.
I think the UFC has done an excellent job of marketing female fighters.
like, look, presently,
I don't give the UFC credit for a lot.
Can I respond?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, like presently, boxing in general is really hard to market. That's number one.
That's not true, man. That's not true, man.
What
He
did
just
Jeremy
got
say?
done.
What did he say?
Wait, I'm not done. I'm not done.
He said
my
I
point.
didn't hear what you
is
said.
hard
I
to
didn't hear what you
market.
said. I want to hear that.
And
No, I
number
want to hear.
two-
You got to repeat
and
what you said.
number
I didn't
two-
hear it.
number two
Jeremy,
was
go back to number. I
Jeremy,
didn't hear what
make
you
your
said.
number one argument. We didn't
I
hear
didn't hear
you.
number one. Can you go back for me?
sorry. I was saying that boxing and its current moment right now is difficult to market in terms of it's difficult to market when it's not the heavyweight division. And number two, when there was name value, when there was some sort of like name value, I think I might be contradicting my point here, but F it. Layla Ali and Ann Fox was like a really like Ann Fox was a really great boxer and she was very hard to market. The only reason why Layla Ali was easy to market is because she was the daughter of Muhammad Ali. But I think what I'm trying to say here is that because of I don't know what I'm trying to say. Look,
Yeah, man. Okay.
because she's black, that's why she's not.
I hear you, but I'll just say this. I think in general, female boxing is under promoted.
No.
You
That's
have
I
Katie
agree.
Taylor, who's equally as good or as proficient in the art of boxing as Clarissa Shields, and she is equally as under promoted. Now, I agree. There's definitely a racial part to it. So whatever Katie Taylor is experiencing, Clarissa Shields is experiencing that plus racism. But I think in general, just female boxing isn't promoted the way that male boxing is.
David, let's extend this a step further and say female athletics isn't promoted adequately, because I think other than women's MMA, I don't think many other female sports are mainstream in a way that fans actually care about them. Like, they're not
International
drawing the
women's
same
soccer.
numbers. What's that?
Two, international women's soccer and maybe gymnastics, maybe.
And even still, they pale in comparison to how male sports are marketed. I think the UFC has had a unique model where, they can promote male and female fighters on the same card, and the female fighters are often as large stars as the male fighters, and they've happened to hit on that model, which I think is good. I don't know where we're going for this.
Yeah, wait, what got us into this again? Was this Tony
Ronda Rousey's retirement?
Josie Aldo versus
Anderson Aldo.
Chito Vera. And Josie Aldo retiring more like Anderson Silva versus what's his name? I guess the best example is what's that guy's name? Diego Sanchez, or even like a BJ Penn.
Guys, we are already an hour in, and we have not talked about last weekend's fights.
Yep.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the fight. I really enjoyed watching Deiveson Figueiredo go to work and putting on a masterclass in groundwork and grappling, and he kind of beat Alex Perez. He kind of used Alex Perez's momentum of his body to his own advantage, and Alex Perez, it was just out of nowhere. It was just so haphazard how he got caught in that guillotine, and I just really enjoyed watching that. That whole minute of action.
Yeah, I mean, early on, it looked like Perez was taking it to Figueiredo. He was landing that low kick for which he's famous for, and I thought it might be a short night for Figueiredo. He came out like gangbusters, Perez did. And Figueiredo, for a second there, looked outmatched. And then Perez made the odd decision to go for that single leg takedown. And that guillotine is actually one that I've seen before. It's a beautiful one. Ricardo Lamas, I don't know if he's actually secured a finish by it, but he does that often. Usually he'll do it when someone's trying to pass his guard and he can secure a butterfly hook from the rear side. But if you can wrap the head when someone's on your going to your back like that. from the turtle position, drape that arm over the head, and then sneak the leg in through the bottom. You can get a pretty tight guillotine. And it was an excellent moment, excellent awareness by Figueiredo to recognize those small opportunities and scrambles and take advantage of them like that. That's what high-level grappling is.
Yeah, no, that's the part that really stood out to me. I think it was, for me, in my opinion, I thought it was a little too early to tell in terms of who would be winning the fight. Just because I guess I have a little bit too much respect for Figueiredo after the last, I guess, 3 fights he's had, really. They've been pretty dominant. Yeah, I don't know. Perez just went for the takedown and spent forever trying to get it. And just when it looks like he was finally getting Figueiredo off balance, Figueiredo goes for the spin move, tries to get his leg, and doesn't even, I mean, I guess he gets him down, but he doesn't land technically even in a good position. He's still in the bottom, like on the bottom technically. So he does a really good job of, like, as you said, scrambling and getting into like a better position, and he's able to sink that guillotine pretty much like seamlessly. So for me, it just puts another more punctuation on the fact that Figueiredo is probably one of the best finishers in the UFC. Honestly, like if you give him any chance, he's gonna submit you, knock you out. It doesn't matter. So everybody in that division should be watching out. And I guess he's gonna be fighting Brandon Moreno next. I think they already.
Yeah, whose fight I actually happened to miss, but I've been a fan of Moreno for a while.
It was good.
That's gonna be a banger. That's gonna be, as long as Moreno can keep it on the feet, that will be a banger.
It was actually ironic. Moreno's fight was mostly grappling. Took him to the ground and just beat Brandon Royval like to shreds. Like it was actually it was an interesting fight. Yeah, so I don't know. You know how I feel about some of these lighter divisions, but I love Figueiredo though. I love Figueiredo, so I want to see all of his fights. And
man, I got no complaints with 125 right now. I'm excited. You've got Figueiredo, Royval, Kai Kara France. Formiga. This is a fun division in my view.
No comment, man. You're not gonna hear me talking about Formiga or Kai Kara France. No, thank you.
Why not Kai Kara France? What's wrong with you? What are you, sizist? Hey, wait, hold on.
This is the guy. I don't want to do this, man.
Aren't you? This is the guy who's the fan of Valentina Shevchenko on the make-believe women's 125. Really? Actually, is this your take? We have
10 minutes of pod left, Stefano.
Is this your solid take after Valentina just struggled to get past a middling opponent? Okay. In other news, in the co-main event, Valentina struggled to get past a technically limited and opponent. Jennifer Maia putting up a better fight than a lot of us would have expected. Took Valentina down and stole a round from her, I believe. And then Valentina able to beat her just with bare bones basic striking, landing a 1-2 and then progressing to her right side. What fight were you watching, Mike?
Yeah, really. No, for real. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it was Valentina's best performance. I don't know if you guys have been watching some of the promos for this event, but for BT Sport, they pitched it as kind of, they had a violin playing in the background, which kind of implied like a virtuosos. We'd be watching 2 virtuosos in Figueiredo and Shevchenko performing tonight.
That's hilarious. Figueiredo's not a virtuoso, he's a bull.
I don't know who wrote that script, but that's what I got from the ad. But anyway, Shevchenko.
British for their own good.
The Shevchenko, but I thought it was good.
Technique. I said tune in to see technique at its finest.
No, but Shevchenko is definitely a virtuoso as far as
like a side of spotted dick, the finest dish that MMA can offer at this moment.
Stefano, we have 7
Valentina
minutes of
Shevchenko beating up overmatched middling fighters.
Jennifer Maia was actually really good. I actually thought like she really impressed me out there. I expected her to have a similar fate to Jessica Ai, but once again, just like her previous fight against, I think it was Roxanne Modafferi, shocking, like seriously shocking. Like
who fought Roxanne? No, she fought
not Roxanne.
Joanne Calderwood.
Oh, Joanne.
Scottish.
I remember she upset somebody. She fought Jojo Calderwood, who was supposed to get the Shevchenko fight after that fight, and for some reason took the random fight against Jennifer Maia and then lost it. And Maia showed why she's a tough matchup for a lot of girls in that division, because she's physical. She has a good game plan. Like, she did exactly what you would want to do against Shevchenko, at least the foundations of a game plan of how to beat Valentina Shevchenko, I think, were created last night. At least I didn't say that. Cormier and Rogan said that. But the only thing I thought Shevchenko played a little bit into her hands. For some reason, Shevchenko tried to initiate a lot of the clinching as well.
I thought that was
okay. And also, what really impressed me from yesterday's fight was Shevchenko's takedowns were really good. Like her sweeps, were a thing of beauty. She was kind of power slamming some of them, but they were still really aesthetically pleasing to watch. So
yeah, Shevchenko throughout her career has always showed a very good lateral drop, good foot sweeps. She hit that one on Juliana Pena, and I wasn't really surprised that Shevchenko went to the takedown. It seemed like, which she's been known to do throughout her career. It seemed like she was having some trouble with the timing of Maia early on and was getting tagged with her in that first round, and off of that forced the clinch and got that not the lateral drop, but it was. It was a trip. It was some sort of a trip, and yeah, man.
I just want to comment on how much I enjoyed watching her striking. Not so much, the power in her hands, but more so her movement. I enjoyed her footwork, how she would piece her up in those exchanges, get the better of her in those exchanges, and then slightly move to the outside or to the left, I believe it was, just to avoid that left hook. I really enjoyed watching that. I can definitely see what the hype is about. And I think she had trouble with Maya's power in the earlier rounds, but I think once she managed distance well, and I think she kind of avoided some of those takedowns because Maya tried to pummel her against the cage, which was a good game plan. But I think her takedown defense was really good, and once she could keep that distance and piece her up, I think she kind of took her into deep water. So I enjoyed watching the striking and the movement and the footwork of the Bullet.
Yeah.
So while these three may feel comfortable simping for Valentina, I myself do not.
I was gonna say I felt very. I like how you said she started for me really running away with it when she went back to basics. And Michael's take for this is that Rogan's commentary was trash in this matchup.
As it often is.
Thank you for that insightful feedback, Michael.
So, and then finally, I guess we'll quickly touch on, and then I got to run after this matchup, so you guys are going to have to play us out and threaten the children for me. But
all right.
Finally, we have Mike Perry versus Tim Means. Now, I was entertained by this. The power of Mike Perry is remarkable. In grappling exchanges, he hits unreasonably hard, but man, sometimes he seems like he has it together. Huh?
It means business. I'm sorry.
What? I can't hear him. But anyways, sometimes he has it together, and sometimes he brings Latore Gonzalez in his corner and just swings wildly many times. And sometimes that's even enough to make it competitive in a fight against Tim Means, who's older and a little bit past his prime. But Means did a good job, very precise job. He always has good intercepting elbows, which he used well. He also used his elbows offensively. He'd secure hand positioning on the jabbing hand because he's southpaw versus orthodox, and then he'd use that to roll that over into an elbow, and that seemed to give Perry fits. Perry won the first round, I believe, with that takedown, nearly finishing with the rear naked. I thought it was a fun enough fight. But Mike Perry needs some help, man. Missing weight by 5 pounds. Get out of here.
Yo, man. I mean, there's just so many. It's a shame that you have to go because I have so many takes on this. But number one,
Mike just sent a message saying Mike Perry is the undisputed GOAT. But go on.
Perry not only brought Latore to his corners, he brought a very, very pregnant Latore as pretty much his only corner man, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Number two, 5 pounds overweight. Dabs when he misses weight. I mean, I'm not one of these weight Nazis like Michael, but
weight Nazis.
At a certain point, man, cut the guy. You got to cut this guy, right?
Apparently, during his training camp, Tim Means at the press conference said that Mike Perry was DMing him pictures of him eating burgers and stuff.
I believe it. I watched the Chael Sonnen video a few days ago, and it was last week, and Chael Sonnen was saying Mike Perry says he's 20 pounds overweight, 7 days out of the fight. Come on, cut this guy. Like straight up. Like at first it was funny, and then it was like, oh, maybe we should like look after him. Now it's clear like he's actively like the UFC is actively harming him and his personal life and his professional career. Like this guy is like something's going on. You can't miss weight 5 pounds over, dab, and then come into the fight with Beyonce, and
he came into Beyonce. Wait, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with coming in, but he came in looking crazy, man. Like I don't know, he's not. I don't know. I don't want to make too many psychological analysis here, but I'm just saying somebody needs to have a word with Dana White, and he should not be fighting until he's had like some serious therapy. Like seriously, like it's kind of
Mike disagrees with you. Mike thinks that he wants to see the show continue.
Yeah, Mike just said he wants him to be his spiritual coach. All right, yeah. Weird, Mike, but okay.
Well, Mike wants to be a couple of different people's coaches.
And there was no technical analysis on that fight. I just wanted to say that.
Female fighter in the GTA. Mike, get some help, man. You need as much help as Mike Perry. Get your feces together, bro. We're you know, when Mike says what the fuck. Wait, sorry, WTF. I stand for.
Hilarious.
So, yeah, no, I'd happen to disagree with Mike and his scummy takes. I think that, I think what's remarkable is that Mike Perry, under not even ideal circumstances, is still, able to make fights competitive at a high level, just based on how clearly physically talented he is. But if you're a professional and you show up not prepared for your job, I mean, it's as simple as that. You should get fired. And I don't want to see this show continue. I want to see him get cut from the UFC, take a deep look at himself, and then I want to see the comeback story.
I'd be here for
he already has the pass to say the N-word.
He does not have the pass to say N-word, and he's also been knocking out like random old guys in the bar, like he's Conor McGregor or something. Also, I just wanted to say this: the whole hype behind Mike Perry was that he was a phenomenal athlete who was just like this diamond in the rough. But that was like 5 years ago, and now, like, how far in are we? And compare this performance even to his performance like 3 fights ago. Like he's been getting worse and worse each fight.
And here's the thing: he showed some promise earlier in his career, like he knocked out Jake Ellenberger with that.
Like he was good.
That roll over elbow. Like
last year we were talking about Mike Perry and we're saying like, oh yeah, he's probably like a top 15 guy. Like he's a good gatekeeper of like, are you a real UFC fighter or not? Now, like I don't want to be too disrespectful for anybody, but like I just think like he needs some help, and we at the Leg Kick love you, Mike, but we also don't say the N-word. That's weird.
No. He's 2% black. He can say it. And Tyron Woodley said it. He's one of those white guys who grew up around black guys his whole life. Grew up in the ghetto. Give him the pass. Give him the pass, guys. No. If you won't give it to me, if you won't give me the N-word pass,
no, that's gonna be a no.
If you won't give it to me, give it to Mike Perry, because he knows the struggle of your everyday black man. Okay, so moving.
Oh, jeez.
Can 2% of Mike Perry say the N-word?
No percent of Mike Perry.
Maybe you can say it 2% of the time.
Get Mike Perry out of here, man. Get him out of here, man. My
stance is, I don't care if you say the N-word, but I'm not going to be the black person responsible for giving the pass. Sorry.
Actually, here at the Leg Kick, we have assembled the committee of the 3 people most qualified to give the N-word pass. Myself, Michael, Jeremy, and David.
Yeah, we actually sit on the committee that like rations the passes, so
we only have 25 more left to give this year.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you guys think about giving one to I don't know, let's say Don Lemon?
Shut up. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that, Stefano.
Why?
You're going to get stuffed by some Black Lives Matter person. Trust me.
Hey, man, Black Lives do matter. Okay.
Black Lives Matter, please don't stuff Stefano, because that would be the wrong white man.
That would be the wrong. Go and punch Donald Trump or something, okay?
Yeah, pick somebody else.
Go punch Mitt Romney.
Nice.
Listen,
okay, do you guys want to talk about the Paul Craig Shogun fight? No?
Yeah, Shogun retire, please. Yeah. That's all I got to say about that.
Paul Craig, Scotland. Let's go.
Paul Craig, hire a boxing.
Jiu-jitsu, man.
His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. I think we're up against it. I think I gotta go at least.
All right.
My dog's been crying for attention for the
I feel
past.
you. My dog has to go too. But I feel you.
All right.
So are we done with our analysis of Paul Craig and Shogun?
Yes. Wait.
Uh,
Yes.
should I just quickly go over what the Raptors did? And you, Stefano,
Stefano has to go. Stefano has to go. So
I
we'll
was
say
gonna.
goodbye.
I was just gonna say quickly, we could have had a discussion about tapping to strikes, which I think we will in the future, because I think it's a stupid taboo. But yeah, guys, I gotta go. My dog needs some attention. So in this crazy messed up world where we can't get into the studio and it's snowing outside and my dog's crying for attention and Mike Perry just got the N-word pass from us.
No.
You have 3 things. Okay? You have Michael. You have David. You have Jeremy. Good night, everybody.
Good day. Anyway, sorry. So we're joined today by Michael. Thank you for joining us. Where have you been? Number 1, and number 2. I hear you have some takes about Ronda Rousey.
Okay, look, I love him. He's my brother. God bless his soul. But yeah, what is he talking about? Ronda Rousey had a good exit strategy. Look, this woman is a quitter. Sorry, my lamp just burnt out on me. Give me a second. Boom. Okay. This woman is a quitter. Okay? First of all, and that's why she left, because she quit, not because of like, oh, I couldn't beat the best in the world and yada 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 and so on and so forth. She quit. Okay? And I think that at least if she were to come back and maybe lose, but have a good showing against someone where she adjusted and adapted, but like, couldn't get the job done, then I'd agree. But it's not like she did that. No, what happened was she thought she took it easy.
Thought it was sweet.
Yeah. And I think that there should be, sometimes we should hold people to task. I think we do it a little too much, but sometimes we should hold people to task for when they don't give it 150% in something, Yeah, exactly. Second, number 2, tabbing the strikes, we're so stupid. We have to accept it more.
Wait, we aren't having the tapping to strikes debate.
No, I know. I'm just saying that's another thing I want to talk about. Number 3, I think Jeremy's right on the Clarissa Shields thing, because if you remember about MMA, females MMA was not marketed well until a pretty blonde white girl, right? And don't get me wrong, Ronda Rousey did what she was supposed to do, but was not marketed.
That's like saying like MMA wasn't big in America until there was a guy with a mullet punching guys in the face. Like, you're always going to have the great white hope, and you're always going to have the most marketable person in a brand, which is usually the white guy or white women.
Yeah, but I think that goes directly into Jeremy's point. It's always the white person that gets marketed well. Like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
Yeah, right? It always goes. I think it always does. It always is the white guy that gets the white bread, white woman or white guy that gets marketed well. I mean, think about it. Cyborg was ruling Strikeforce, but everyone couldn't stop talking about Gina Carano, and then Gina Carano got beat by Cyborg, and then all of a sudden women's MMA wasn't relevant again. Then Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate get big, and then they're marketing women's MMA again. It's always like that. It's always
but then Cyborg comes to UFC and is the biggest female star there with Amanda Nunes. I'm not saying you don't have a point, but I'm saying like, yeah, I hear you in terms of like the marketing, but it isn't because like, I don't know. I don't even know what my point is. I don't even know.
No. Like, look, I think you guys are valid. Like, I do see your point, but I just think that Jeremy is definitely more than onto something. I think Jeremy has.
I just think it's weird when you make it a cross-sport comparison. I feel like if you compared Clarissa Shields to like Katie Taylor, I don't know enough about female boxing to make that educated enough argument. But then I would be like, okay, let me hear you out. But say like nobody's watching. Sorry, go on.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to say I think Clarissa Shields, really quickly, I think Clarissa Shields is a more decorated boxer than Katie.
How?
2-time Olympic gold medalist? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Are you
So
kidding?
Katie Taylor has an Olympic gold medal too.
One.
What? Okay, now we're splitting hairs because you went pro.
And I'm not okay. I'll be real. Like I haven't followed Katie Taylor's career like I have Clarissa Shields, but I'm pretty sure Katie Taylor hasn't unified all the belts in her division.
She hasn't lost ever in her career. So, I mean, we're splitting hairs.
I just think Clarissa Shields is someone who takes on. I think she like Pacquiao. She takes on everybody. Not everybody, but like she's willing to take on anybody and everybody.
Right, and the other thing is, like, in terms of attitude, Clarissa Shields and Ronda Rousey are very similar. Brash, cocky, don't give a damn about anybody else, and kind of walk that line. So it's, again, Clarissa Shields has all the tools to be marketable just like Ronda Rousey is, except for, right?
Except for nobody cares about female boxing. Don't do that.
Okay,
Don't
fair,
do that.
fair.
I'll hear your argument when you have
cared
two
about females
comparable
MMA.
people in the same sport. But when it's different sports, then we're muddying the waters. Like
It's
if
true.
we have a black woman and I think it's coming, in the UFC who's as good as a Valentina Shevchenko. I think Amanda Nunes is black. I don't know. Whatever. This isn't about race. But
she's got some Afro roots in her, yes.
has she? I don't know. We can
I
debate
believe
that
so.
in our separate
Okay.
race.
No,
podcast.
but okay, I do
When the day comes when we get a black UFC, dominant champion, then I'll walk back my statement and say it. But as of right now, I stand by the fact that I think if Clarissa Shields was white, everybody would know her name.
Well, I know that's where I'm kind of offshooting, because the point is you have to market, you have to build the temple, and that's where I see Stefano and David's point. But what I am trying to say though is that at women's MMA, no one gave a damn about it and marketed it until the hot, attractive white girl was the thing, right? And you saw it with Gina Carano, and you saw it with Ronda Rousey, and even Misha Tate to an extent. So I don't understand this whole revisionist history about, like...
I hear you, but Cyborg is as big a star as Gina Carano.
She was not. I
Misha
followed
Tate.
Cyborg's career for a decade. I followed her career for a decade. I saw her fight in front of 5 people at Bodog Fight League. I know she wasn't marketable. I know, because I saw it. I watched it. I saw it with my eyes.
But now what's your excuse, though? So now what's the excuse?
Because she's the antithesis. Because people like to build up and tear down. So when Ronda Rousey was being built up, the antithesis was always, well, Cyborg's going to mess her up. Cyborg's going to mess her up. And it wasn't the casuals who were doing it. It wasn't the new fans of MMA who were doing it. It was the hardcore fans who were watching for a long time who were doing it, right?
Okay.
Because they wanted to break her down.
But it's just a weird argument to say if she'd been promoted as much as this person, then she would be bigger. But then you have a star like Cyborg, who you're comparing to. I guess Ronda Rousey is bigger.
But my point, but
Ronda Rousey is bigger than all female fighters. So like, let's compare Cyborg to an equally talented like white fighter. You know what? Let's not make this a race pod. What are we doing?
It's fair. It's fair. It's fair. I'm just saying that, like, Jeremy's more than onto something. Like,
No, I
if
agree.
you put a gun to my head, I probably agree with Stefano and you, but I would say that there are historical things that you can point to say, well, no, Jeremy has a point here. And,
No, I
and
guess.
we have to look.
I
Right?
guess. See, I had way more to say about that than tapping the strikes. That's a weird argument.
No, because MMA fans do that all the time. Anyway, okay. And also, yeah, Valentina Shevchenko had a fantastic job, and Jennifer Maia is legit. And I don't understand this whole Stefano does this all the time with Valentina Shevchenko, and I don't understand why. Where
Stefano doesn't respect women. You can say it.
Oh man, cat's out the bag.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Stefano, we the insult jokes are we finally understand the root of it. Yeah.
Anyway, you guys want to talk basketball or
Talk a little basketball.
because I have more, but like we're already going long, so let's just yeah.
So since this is our first
No,
installment,
hold on. One more. Sorry. Mike Perry. I look, that was embarrassing.
We might do like a separate, like later in the week, we might have let's do a longer video on that.
Yeah,
I actually have so many thoughts on it.
I'm gonna make a video on it. I was planning to do it already.
Yeah, call me up for that.
Yeah, no, I'll call you because that was embarrassing, and I don't think there's anything less than that. And the sad thing is, he nearly won the fight in the first round.
I know. I was like, Tim, don't do this. Don't do this to us. Come on. There's no good and evil, and that's why we love MMA, because there's no good or evil. There's no good or bad. There's just two guys going to fight, and who wins. But, like, man, I was like, come on, Tim. Like, please. If there's any kind of God, like, you gotta win this.
Right, and it was tight too. It was under the net.
Tight.
And I was like, oh my God, Mike Perry's gonna win in 2 minutes by rear naked choke.
Are you kidding me? Like, what was the last? When do you think is the last time Mike Perry practiced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
You know, he's actually very legit. That's
I bet he is.
Yeah.
I bet he is.
Yeah.
But like, when did he practice though?
I honestly, I've heard good things about him in the gym. He's like really strong, and he's got a technical pressure game when he does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's not like he's not going to hit you with like elevator sweeps and stuff, but when he does do his game, it's tactical pressure stuff. That's what I've heard. And the last thing to always go away is your brain for MMA. So he's got some go-to moves that he probably did that he knows and gave Tim Means a lot of trouble. With that being said, no head movement, feet too close together. His jab looked garbage. No adjustment because he has this very pregnant girlfriend in his corner. And he's regressing. Remember when people were talking about him being robbed against Vicente Luque? Remember that?
Yeah, that was ages ago. Vicente Luque's a killer, man. Yeah. Let's talk about it on the other video because I have a lot of thoughts about that too. Like, what's going on, Mike?
Honestly, we'll talk later. Okay, NBA trades and free agency because, dude, it was madness this week.
Yeah. So are we gonna go over Raptors news first, or just all?
Yeah, let's start Rams. Let's start close to home and then we'll branch out.
Okay. Biggest news in the Raptors, in Raptors world, Serge Ibaka is leaving to go to the Clippers. Serge Ibaka is very close to signing a deal with the Clippers. Then you got
a pay cut too. 2 years, 19, something like that. 2
years, 19.
Yeah,
no, that's good though. That's not a pay cut because were the Raptors going to offer that to him? Like, the negotiations were like, would you pay Serge 2 years, 19?
I mean, wasn't it inevitable that he was going to get paid?
19? Yeah, I paid him two more. Like,
what?
Sorry, were you watching the same 2020 playoffs I was? Because
this one playoffs over the course of his contract. What has he done? No, don't make me do this to Serge, man. Come on, I love you, Serge.
Wasn't it inevitable? Like, isn't what David's saying kind of true? Wasn't it inevitable that he was going to get less money this free agency?
Yes, because of the Raptors' cap and socio-dynamics, but they could have definitely afforded.
Pause. Did you just say socio-dynamics?
Socioeconomics. Because, sorry.
I'm like, wait, what?
All right, let me explain. Because the socio part comes in that psychologically they do want to get Giannis, and they've been courting him with the whole idea of the Giants of Africa and being part of that. And I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think there's any chance, but they need to appear as if they're going to do it. So, of course, they're going to give him a pay cut. They were not going to pay him $15 million per like they did in his last contract. However, right, I think they could have definitely done $9.5 million per like this contract is, right?
$9.5 million per year. Oh, wait. So I didn't even read the contract. Where's my phone? It's 2 years, 19, like total, not plus, not 19 per.
No, it's 2 years, 19.
Oh, wait, no, the Raptors should have definitely matched that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's kind of nuts, actually. That's kind of disrespectful.
Right, so
we don't know if they didn't match that. Maybe he wanted to play in LA instead, and plus now he's playing with like Kawhi.
The Raptors are heavily pursuing Mark Morrison from LA, so maybe that's why they kind of passed on Serge, is because maybe they could get somebody who they feel is
one of the twins. One of the twins.
Man, yo, the Raptors have been trying to get one of the twins. I kid you not, for literally 3 years. Am I lying?
Yeah,
Like
no,
we've been talking about this Morris trade for literally like 3 years.
Yeah, no, they want him bad, and
Well, bro, like let it go, man. And like those guys can ball, but those guys, I love how they talk about them like they're one player. But they can ball, but like they're not gonna change the Raptors' fortunes. Like we needed them back when we had like DeRozan and like Lowry. Now we're a completely different team. Like who's gonna score for goodness sake?
well, they did re-sign Fred VanVleet, which is the other thing, right? And so
I think 4 years for like 85 mil.
I'm
yeah,
okay with that one. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
mhm. Yeah,
we got
sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
Are we done talking about Steady Freddy?
We barely talked about Freddie Steady. I mean, I feel like
I thought you had more to say. That's why.
I feel like he did a good job. He earned his contract. If I'm not mistaken, he's not even a drafted player, right?
No, undrafted.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like
So
people.
It seems like yesterday I covered his first game for the 905, and him and Brady Haslip did a combo guard combo, and now he's in the NBA. It's weird, like watching like him progress to now getting 21 million.
Nuts.
Okay, so let me ask you guys this. Sorry, David, you had something.
No, I was just gonna say that the work rate that you gotta have for that, like just like man, it must be crazy. Like,
Yeah, no, I always tell people. Sorry, Jeremy, you can go ahead.
So let me ask you guys this: was Fred VanVleet overpaid or underpaid?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
what? Neither. I think 21 makes sense. I feel like if it was around 30, I'd be like, okay, guys, come on. But like 20 something, he's earned it. Like we were watching beforehand, and De'Aaron Fox got 5 years, 163, which can go up to like 190 something. Like, is De'Aaron Fox, is Fred VanVleet a significantly worse player than De'Aaron Fox?
He's worse, but not significantly.
Is he?
So,
yeah, no, he's definitely worse. He's definitely worse. But look, no, 21 is fair. I think 21 is fair. The problem with Fred VanVleet is the Raptors, again, if you're trying to get Giannis, you have to be smart about how you do the books, right? And I'm not saying they're gonna get Giannis. I don't think the Raptors have like I think if you put a gun to my head, I'd say a 20% chance. But you have to make it like if you really want to go after him, you have to make it look like you can, right? And so the weird thing was Fred in a perfect world is worth somewhere around that 21 to 25 range. I'd say 25 is a little bit high, but somewhere around there, right? But do you pay him that if you're trying to get Giannis in that 2021 season, right? And that was the whole weird thing. So because of that, that's where the conversation was, right? It's like the books get weird, right? And the Raptors bit the bullet and took him. And we're gonna see what happens next.
So it seems like because also Marc Gasol is weighing options between I think the Lakers and Toronto. So with all the Raptors bigs, or not all the Raptors bigs, but a lot of the Raptors bigs, like it looks like they're kind of dry in the big department. Do you think the Raptors wasted draft picks by getting two guards in Malachi Finn and Jalen Harris?
Yeah, but like they probably didn't know. Look, remember a week ago when Fred VanVleet was on a podcast and he said, "I'm trying to get paid."
Yeah.
They probably thought that meant, oh, he's gonna want $30 million and we're screwed because Charlotte's gonna pay him that, and we're there's nothing we can do. By the way, Charlotte signed Gordon Hayward to a 4-year, $30 million per deal, which I think is absolutely foolish. But
wait, no, it's not even foolish. It's criminal. Like we are witnessing a crime, and somebody needs to actually do an investigation.
Wait, I'm sorry.
How Gordon Hayward can make that much money still? No disrespect. I want everybody to be rich, but he's already coming off like a max deal, right, with the Celtics after coming a near max deal with his previous team, if I'm not mistaken, like Denver. Or was I don't remember.
Gordon Hayward, if someone said 20 to me, I would be like, okay, that's a little high, but you know what? Like, he's still a talented player, and if he can come back from his knee injury, okay, fine. But 30 30.
Gordon Hayward has to prove that he can have an injury-free season to be earning above 20 for me. But then again, I don't know anything about basketball. I just hear this name and I don't know. I like the moving parts, but what the Gordon Hayward I've been watching, like he can ball. Don't get me wrong. He's not a bad player, but first of all, he's not like the top echelon player that they try to sell us on. First of all, is he even like a number one option on like a really really good team? I don't think so.
I think if he comes back and he's healthy, considering the fact that they also have LaMelo Ball and Devontae Graham, and if for nothing else, LaMelo Ball is going to be an elite distributor in this league.
Hey,
if for nothing else, right?
Do you think the Hornets, just even saying those words to me right now, I bet you that team does not win more than like 25 games. Because we haven't reduced.
I think 30. I can jot them down for 30. I can jot them down for 30. Because look, okay,
who's playing defense?
No, their
that
defense
backcourt
is terrible. They're gonna give up like 128 points, of course. But they have if for nothing else, and again I say this, if for nothing else, let's say LaMelo Ball flames out and scores 5 points a game, he is going to be an elite. He's already proven that he's an elite distributor and an NBA ready pass, right? Gordon Hayward is going to average 15 points. I can jot him down for 15 points. Devontae Graham is one of the sneakiest good players in this league, right? He's all right. And Terry Rozier, that contract is criminal, but he can still play.
Yo, man.
So, no, I'm being optimistic for sure.
I love when all black men get paid. But what's going on, man? That backcourt sounds no good. No disrespect.
No, here's the thing. The backcourt is I'm not under any illusions that they're going to win the NBA. They're going to even make the play. But I think saying 20 wins is like under 20 or under 25 is a little bit. We're being a little bit.
Man, I mean,
you know, go ahead.
Fair enough. I don't know. I just. Like, I just love comparison, and I'm just like, okay, I'd have to go back and look at the teams who've lost less than 25 games, won less than 25 games in the past, like, 5 or so seasons, and then compare their teams against Charlotte's current team. Because just, like, straight up, like, LaMelo Ball is not playing.
Their backcourt's full of a lot of uncut gems. That's all I'm trying to say, is that...
But then, like, how many times have we seen that? Like even like some people would argue like the New Orleans Pelicans, for example, last year had way more talent, like proven talent in the league, and they still stunk it up for the first 2 months. They stunk
it up till they had Zion, and then all of a sudden made a run. Then Zion got fat in between in the quarantine, and then they kind of lost their chance. But you know, I think where the Pelicans need is a good defensive big. Who can stay on the court, right? Like who can actually provide something on offense. So having like a Bismack Biyombo doesn't help them. They need something like a Wendell Carter, for example, would be really nice. A Wendell Carter Jr. I think would be a really good addition for him. But
you're playing fantasy ball with these players, man. I'm just saying, like, to be a competitive team, like you have to have like way better players than that. No, just
it might sound like we're straying off into the rest of the NBA.
Yeah,
but
please.
I just had one quick question about the Raptors. With respect to all the moves that they made this last week in the draft and in free agency.
Also, let's hurry this up, because 10 more minutes. Thanks.
How do you feel the Raptors are set up for next season in their current form?
Actually, not good. Not good. I'm actually concerned. And I'll tell you why. They have, I think Chris Boucher right now is currently their starting center.
Wait, didn't he hit free agency as well?
Yes, he did. But I'm assuming they're going to pay him. If they don't, then they're really in trouble. They might have to go to...
Even if they pay him, we're really in trouble.
Yeah, we're really in trouble.
With Chris.
Yeah, the front court is really thin. The front court is thin.
I see what you did there. With Chris Boucher in the front court, I see what you did there.
But look, Pascal Siakam, say what you will, but he's still an excellent player in this league. Borderline all-star. OG Anunoby, I think there's a lot of potential there. But then besides that, you're really scrambling, and those guys don't play center. So
And what we would do for a Jakob Poeltl right now, oh my God.
yeah, right.
Oh my God. Anyway, no, I agree. I totally agree. I didn't even think, but you know what? The NBA is moving towards small ball anyway, and the guy who plays number 5 seems to be more
rim protection, which Boucher provides. So,
pardon?
No, I was just saying you need rim protection.
You do need rim protection, but you can get that at like.
Protector.
But the money, the amount of money you have to pay for rim protection is becoming like much like less and less as the year go by. Like the hardest thing to find is a serviceable guard, it seems, and then like a decent wing player and then some defense if you're lucky. But the Raptors already have the defense and a decent wing in Anunoby, as you said. Siakam is kind of that swing player. And the guard-ish
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm going to say, and the guard-ish in Van Vliet. I just feel like, that center, like, look at the Lakers last year. They got 2 basically minimum contract players to play, like, their center position, and they won the championship. Like, it kind of doesn't, because they had, like, 2 stars, right? Like, that's what the Raptors need to focus on. Not like, necessarily getting stars, but, like, creating a system where they can get buckets. Not necessarily with their center. We do not need to go back to like Jonas Valanciunas and trying to get him touches. Like, oh man, that was a dark Raptors day.
I agree. I just think the one issue, and I was gonna say the problem is that, the Raptors just like you look up and down the league, there's nobody there, right? Like everyone's getting signed, and we really need to kind of look for a guy to play that position. So it's not even the fact that, we might have to overpay. No, it's not. It's just there is literally no one there to pay, right? And
no, my point isn't that. It's
except for Markieff Morris.
Marcus Morris is not a center. And also, I'm saying you can afford to underpay for that position.
Yeah,
it's more important to pay for other positions than that position. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. There's lots of big guys that could probably slot into a really good defensive system. Let's be real. And they don't have to shoot threes or anything like that. They just have to play defense. And they'll be fine. You can pay them a minimum contract or under 10, and it's going to be good. But that's probably, in my head, I would think that's what's going on, but I don't know.
Well, the other problem, too, that concerns me is that there was a period of time where the Raptors lost, I think, 5 of their 5 of 6. I want to say late December, early January, and they were concerned. And I remember you were concerned too, David. And it was a lot of it was because Serge got injured, Mark got injured, right? And then all of a sudden, you really saw how thin they could be in terms of rebounding and rim protection, and the Raptors struggled without it. So
my biggest concern as a Raptors fan is that they haven't addressed why we got knocked out. A lack of talent. It's just simple. We just don't have, we're a hardworking team. We're great. Our coaching is amazing. The culture is amazing. There's nothing to say about the team other than we don't have the talent of some other team. We're looking at the Nets. We were talking about getting Harden, Kyrie, what's his name, KD on one team, and we're talking about, if we can get that center, should we have kept Ibaka? Come on, man. Let's be real. We need either a star or we're never gonna compete. It's that simple. And we have, I don't want to say bloated contracts, but we have some legacy contracts in there. So it is what it is.
It's interesting with that Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's just dangling out there, and you're like,
If we got Bradley Beal, I don't even know. We might as well get DeMar DeRozan again.
No, but Bradley Beal can actually shoot the 3, and just
who
say
cares? Does Bradley Beal bring us? Who cares, man?
All right, real quickly, Jeremy, one outside the Raptors NBA guy that you want to talk about. One.
You got the only really big story that caught my eye was Donovan Mitchell. Getting paid with a capital P. Go.
David, you want to take this one?
Wait, who
I
else
just
did
thought,
his team get? I feel like they also signed somebody else.
no, I just thought, I think
They
there's
got
just,
Jordan Clarkson, but that's a kind of minor
but I
one.
think it just speaks to, how dependent they were on Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs. Because if we're really going to talk about anything, we should talk about how he took over him and Jamal Murray, that little back and forth. We didn't really talk about that, when the playoffs was going on. But I think it was
Oh,
just.
but
It,
see, this is the problem with the way the NBA covers the NBA is that like a lot of people forget that Rudy Gobert got his lunch taken from him by Nikola Jokic, right?
yeah.
So like a lot of people like to focus on the guard play in the NBA nowadays, and they should because that's important. It's probably the most important part. But Jamal Murray also is a guy who doesn't play defense, and for the most part of his career has been extremely inconsistent. Now he's also a guy who brings the lunch pail and goes to work every day, and I wish Andrew Wiggins had the same attitude that Jamal Murray did.
Oh
I'm not
God.
gonna.
Oh
Hey,
God.
we'll do. Hey, that's me. Look, all opinions are Michael's.
Yo, we're not gonna do the Andrew Wiggins slander on this pod.
I,
That's
I
good.
usually defend him because we literally lived in the same neighborhood, but you know, All right, but
Look,
I'm just gonna say that.
Jokic is one of the best players in the league, so it's okay if Gobert wasn't able to deal with one of the most skilled players in the league.
No,
But I
I
do
know.
agree. They're going.
But my point is just to say that Rudy Gobert, um, his contract's pretty large too, and Donovan Mitchell cannot do it alone. And you need to find some sort of number two, at least from an offensive perspective, for the Jazz to do anything, especially with the fact that the Phoenix Suns got Chris Paul, the Lakers are bolstering up, the Clippers got Serge Ibaka. Um, Jesus Christ, there's a lot of teams. The Pelicans, the
Say the
Pelicans
Clippers
got
just got Serge Ibaka, man. Don't do that.
Serge Ibaka had a career. Look, I think you're under. I think because we see him all the time, we like nitpick. But Serge Ibaka had a career year where he shot some insane number from 3-point land, had like a 15 something, had like a 15 and 10 year or borderline around there. He was on pace for that before pandemic, and then and was still an elite rim protector. So an elite rim protector that shoots threes. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Now, yeah, sometimes he has a brain fart of what play they're
Sorry,
running.
what was his 3-point percentage again? Sorry.
I think it was 37 by the end of it.
What? That sounds really high.
It was 37. Yeah, exactly my point. Exactly my point.
Wow.
Exactly my point. He didn't shoot a lot of them, but he when he shot them, they went down. And he was an elite rim protector. Now look, yeah, the odd brain fart, not the odd brain fart. He literally does it every game. There's gonna be 2 plays where he'll have like a brain fart on offense, like literally won't know what the play is, and it's weird. He will have a ticky. He'll have a weird foul every once in a while, and there are injury concerns, but this is a premium big man, right? A premium big man. I wouldn't say all-star, but premium.
Yeah, weird hill to die on the Serge Ibaka take. Yeah, I'm with you with Donovan Mitchell, and just for the record, Serge Ibaka shot 38%, 38.5%.
Yeah,
Incredible. Shooting 3.3 per game. That's actually incredible.
Yeah.
That's actually incredible. Anyway,
with good rim protection and defense, by the way.
yeah, that's actually incredible. I didn't know because the year before he shot 29%, and that's the Serge Ibaka I remember. Anyway, I was gonna say Donovan Mitchell. He just needs help. A lot of these, it's not about the NBA. It's not even about who has the best like tactics or who has the best plays or best coaching anymore. And it's just like who has the most amount of good players at this point. Because that's just what happened last year. And with no fans, it's going to be more of that. I think anyway. Yeah, I guess the Clippers are better, so they have a better chance. But yeah, teams like the Raptors and even like Donovan Mitchell, I'm glad he's getting paid. That boy can ball. once again, it's also a deeper discussion, and we can have it at a later date because I know you got a jet. How tough it is to pick like the point guards that are going to work in the NBA. Because I was just reading upon an article about Chris Dunn getting picked up, and I remember him coming up out of high school, out of college, having crazy hype. So yeah, weird that Donovan Mitchell is the one that's actually popping now. But yeah, shouts out to him, but he needs some help.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, the and 195, 5-year 195 is not going to mean help for the Utah Jazz. Like that's, yeah, no.
It's a fat contract. I looked at their their roster, and I'm trying to think of their second best like scorer, Bogdanovich, Jingles maybe. I love Jingles.
Jingles Angles.
Yeah, Jingles Angles. Yeah, Moutier, no.
Hell no. What? No. What?
Mike Conley?
Oh, don't do that. Conley was an elite point guard at one point. Okay, let's see. Oh, do I have to do in the crazy mixed up world for this one? I think I'm gonna make this a bonus content thing. Why not? All right, in this crazy mixed up world where things are interesting and my camera for whatever reason didn't work, remember, you got 3 things. You got life, you got family, and this podcast. Stay safe, everybody.